Today we're tying a Monster Magic streamer. I'm using the Swire CS45BN Absolute Pike hook, which works really well in this application. Pike tend to hit big flies hard, and a lot of times they'll turn right when they eat the fly, so you don't have to worry about the straight on hook set very often. This one sticks in the corner of the mouth most of the time and works really well that way. I start with some red slinky fiber, and I'm going to cut this one in half, and then we're going to tease the ends out a little bit. Alright, like so. Now if you get anything kind of oddball or sticking out or whatever, just pull it out and toss it away. Tie that in. This is just going to give a little bit of color down, way down deep in the fly. This shows up nice, and the red and black has kind of been a traditional thing for me, and I've had a lot of success with it, so kind of stuck with it. But anyway, there we go, a little bit of black down in the bottom. Now we're going to take a nice chunk of this black slinky fiber, about like so. Cut that off. All right, I'm just going to tease this one just a little bit, just so it's not square. And then we're going to tie it in pretty close to right at the end here. Going to leave enough to fold back over so we can lock it in. And again, anything that doesn't stay in as part of the fly right off the bat, just pull it out and get rid of it. All right, so we'll fold this back in. I'm going to spread it around the hook. It's going to just give a little bit of bulk. That's what we're looking for right now, is a little bit of bulk, a little bit of profile. Something that looks big without actually having too much material in it. Okay, another chunk of the black slinky fiber. Probably about the same size as the last one, but this time we're going to tease it out a lot. So we're going to pull. It starts out about 12 inches long, and when we're done it's going to be about 18 or 20 inches long. Here we're going to make it quite long. Alright, so there we go. Then we're going to tie it in somewhere in the middle. Spread it around the hook shank nice and even. A few wraps to get that in there. Now we'll bring the front part back. Sometimes it gets a little ornery, but we'll spread that around the shank of the hook as well. Everything is in the round, so we want this fly to look the same pretty much from all sides. That also kind of makes more of a profile in the water from any angle, and it also helps the sink rate. It kind of makes the fly hang there a little bit better. All right, one more chunk of this black slinky fiber. This one's probably a little slimmer, a little smaller than the last two. I'm going to cut this one in half, just like we did the red. I'm going to tease it out, just like we did the red. Okay, and we're going to tie it in probably just slightly back of the middle, like so. Loose wraps, first couple wraps, get it on there where we want it. Fold the shorter ones back, lock that in, kind of everything again spread evenly around the shank of the hook. All right, so there we got a nice tapered looking body going there. And just throw a whip finish in there to lock that in place. All right, a little bit of bucktail, some black bucktail here. I like to use the longer fibers for the back portion because they're the ones that are kind of dictate the shape of the profile. And so I kind of like the longer, stiffer fibers for that. Take them straight from the bucktail right to the shank of the hook. Don't tease them or take any of the fibers out or anything like that. Spread them around nice and even, and just give it a tug. They'll all flare out really nice. And then we're just going to wrap the tips in. You can keep your thread wraps pretty close together there. You'll kind of capture them as you go. Doesn't have to be perfect. This is kind of buried inside the fly anyway, so even if there's a little bit showing there, it won't hurt anything. Now for the front of the fly, I like to use up the shorter, kind of poorer hair, for lack of a better word. This would be the hair that was brown if this bucktail wasn't dyed. So it's a little shorter, it's a little, it still works good, especially when it's dyed black. And it actually gives a nice profile that doesn't get too fat at the front when I flare it out. So there we're going to wrap the tips in again, just like we did before. Probably take me a couple passes to get them all. But now with this Swire hook, I find that have to go right up to the eye of the hook, because frequently there is a very tiny gap there, and some of the bite guard wire I use is fine enough that it will actually go through that gap, and you'll be left with a loop on the end of your fly line and no hook and no fish. So if you close that gap up with a little bit of thread and a little bit of epoxy, you won't have that problem. All right, so Kevlar thread means I gotta color it. So we're gonna give it a little bit of black.